She walked in holding her baby, expecting nothing more than a quiet dinner, but instead a hand came crashing across her face. The sound echoed through the restaurant, silverware froze, conversations died, and every eye turned toward her. A single accusation twisted the truth, turning an ordinary night into a nightmare. Phones lifted, whispers spread, and within minutes the situation spiraled into something far more dangerous than anyone imagined. What happened next exposed a brutal truth, one that could change everything. Comment and tell us where you're watching from, and subscribe for more powerful stories. It was supposed to be a peaceful evening for Ava Harper, a moment she had been building the courage to face for months. Life as a single black mother had taught her strength, patience, and the art of moving forward even when the world tried to hold her still. Her mornings began with the soft hum of her daughter's laughter, and her nights ended with memories of the husband she lost far too soon. Yet through everything, Ava carried herself with a quiet resilience that spoke louder than words ever could. Her home reflected her journey. Gentle light, baby toys tucked neatly in corners, and framed reminders of achievements she once shared proudly with the man who believed she could change the world. As she packed her daughter's things for the evening, each item carried a piece of routine. The bottle, the blanket, the soft toy her daughter clung to. Nothing felt unusual. Nothing hinted at the storm waiting ahead. That night wasn't about celebration or luxury. It was about honoring a memory, returning to a place that once symbolized love, stability, and a promise for the future. Ava dressed carefully, choosing simplicity and grace, unaware that none of it would matter to those who would judge her before she even spoke. The city lights shimmered outside as she stepped into the night, holding her baby close. She felt a familiar ache, grief intertwined with hope, but she walked forward anyway, determined to reclaim a moment that belonged to her family. What she didn't know was that beyond those glowing windows and polished floors, someone had already decided she didn't belong. A decision rooted in prejudice, powered by entitlement, and moments away from exploding into something far larger than a denied reservation. Ava was walking into a memory. She had no idea she was also walking into a battle. Ava Harper arrived at the restaurant entrance with quiet confidence, holding her daughter against her shoulder. The warm lights inside shimmered through the glass, reminding her of why she chose this place, a memory connected to love, family, and her past. She stepped inside, hoping for a peaceful evening. Instead, she walked straight into the gaze of Madison Pierce, the hostess whose expression shifted instantly from polite to hostile. Madison didn't greet her. She didn't smile. She simply stared, her eyes narrowing with a judgment Ava felt instantly. Ava approached the podium, gently balancing her daughter while explaining she had a reservation. Madison didn't even glance at the computer. She dismissed Ava with a tone sharpened by entitlement, insisting there was no reservation and suggesting places more suitable for her, a phrase heavy with meaning. Ava felt the room's attention turn toward her. Yet she stayed calm, requesting that Madison simply check the system properly. Madison refused again, louder this time, making sure nearby diners could hear. The whispers began. Forks paused midair. And Ava realized this wasn't a simple inconvenience. This was something deeper, something intentional. When Ava attempted to show her confirmation email, Madison reacted aggressively. With a sudden motion fueled by contempt, she struck Ava's hand, knocking her phone aside. The sharp sound sliced through the elegant atmosphere, silencing the entire room. Ava staggered, tightening her hold on her daughter as the baby burst into frightened cries. That single moment changed everything. Phones rose, diners watched with wide eyes. And still, Madison continued elevating her voice, falsely accusing Ava of causing a disturbance. Moments later, Derek Carter, the restaurant manager, hurried over. But instead of stepping in firmly, he hesitated. His voice wavered. His posture shrank. Ava quickly understood this wasn't the first time Madison had behaved this way, and Derek had always looked the other way. Ava explained the situation clearly, even as her daughter's cries grew louder. She showed the reservation confirmation, the charged deposit, everything. Derek glanced at it, but fear or habit made him retreat behind Madison's version instead of confronting her lies. His silence felt heavier than Madison's hostility. Then came the moment Madison crossed a line that could not be undone. She dialed the police. With theatrical fear, she reported Ava as a threat, twisting reality into a dangerous fiction. She lied about an attack, lied about Ava's intentions, and even questioned Ava's right to hold her own child. Diners gasped. An elderly couple stepped forward, offering to speak on Ava's behalf. Madison ignored them, confident in her privilege and in the system she'd weaponized. Minutes later, red and blue lights flashed through the windows. Two officers entered, Officer Jennings, whose eyes hardened instantly when he saw Ava, and Officer Martinez, whose uncertainty lingered in his posture. Jennings spoke first, his voice cutting through the room. He didn't ask what happened. He didn't review the videos. He didn't listen to Ava's explanation. Instead, he ordered her outside, hand resting near his holster in a silent threat that chilled her to the core. Outside, the situation escalated rapidly. Jennings demanded she put her baby down on the cold ground, claiming it was a safety measure. Ava refused, terrified for her daughter. The officer then grabbed Ava's diaper bag, dumping its contents onto the pavement. Baby items scattered across the concrete, rolling toward the curb. Witnesses gasped. Martinez stepped in, trying to calm his partner, but Jennings dismissed him harshly. Ava knelt, trying to gather her belongings with one hand while holding her crying child with the other. Her dignity lay exposed. Her fear grew. Yet she refused to break, even as Jennings threatened arrest and child protective services. The crowd grew. Cameras recorded. Whispers turned into outrage. Ava realized she had only one chance left. One call. One person who could flip this entire nightmare upside down. Her phone lay on the concrete inches away. Reaching it would change everything, or make the situation explode even further. Ava Harper reached for her phone with trembling fingers, her daughter clinging to her as though she could sense every vibration of fear running through her mother's body. Officer Jennings watched her like a threat instead of a victim, one hand hovering near his weapon, the other ready to seize the phone the moment Ava touched it. His voice cut through the crowd, sharp and cold, warning that any sudden move would justify an arrest. But Ava didn't stop. She couldn't. Her entire future, and the safety of her child, now hung on a single call. Witnesses murmured anxiously. Cameras zoomed in. Even Officer Martinez took a step forward, unsure whether to intervene or brace himself for something worse. Ava's fingers finally curled around her phone. She lifted it with a steadiness she no longer felt and dialed the only number she knew could change this spiraling nightmare. As the phone rang on speaker for everyone to hear, Jennings scoffed. "Who do you think is going to save you?" he muttered, loud enough for the crowd to catch. Ava didn't answer. She didn't need to. The call connected. A voice on the other end spoke with calm authority, asking if everything was all right. Ava explained in a steady but strained tone that she was outside one of the corporation's most prestigious restaurants, being threatened, accused, and humiliated. Her words were measured, clear, each one slicing through the tension like a blade. When she quietly added the name of the hostess, Madison Pierce, and the manager, Derek Carter, the crowd shifted. Martinez's eyes widened. Jennings stiffened. Then Ava said the name that changed everything, the name of the corporation's CEO, the man who owed his grandson's life to her hands. Silence fell. Jennings reached out, attempting to snatch the phone, but Ava pulled it back sharply. The CEO's voice erupted through the speaker before Jennings could speak, furious, commanding, and echoing across the pavement. He demanded to know why his employee had assaulted a guest, why she and her child were being treated like criminals, and why an officer was escalating a situation already filled with witnesses and recorded evidence. Jennings went rigid. Martinez stepped closer, no longer unsure but decisive, recognizing the shift in power. The crowd vibrated with anticipation. Madison appeared at the doorway, confusion etched across her face, quickly morphing into dread as the CEO's voice boomed louder, naming her actions one by one. Discrimination, physical assault, false police report. Derek stood behind her, pale and silent, realizing the weight of his complicity. Ava didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. Every detail she'd described was now backed by dozens of phones and dozens of witnesses. Jennings opened his mouth to defend himself, but the CEO cut him off, calling out his misconduct directly. The illegal search, the threats, the attempt to separate mother and child. The officer's face drained of color. Whispers surged across the crowd. Martinez straightened as though freed from a silent chain. Ava held her daughter tighter, her breath steadying as the ground beneath her seemed to shift in her favor for the first time that night. The CEO demanded Jennings hand the phone back to Ava immediately. And then came the line that cracked through the night like thunder. "Everyone here has seen the truth, and now the consequences begin." The crowd erupted. Cameras flashed. Madison's expression collapsed into panic. And Ava stood taller than she ever had before, knowing the moment of reckoning had finally arrived. As the CEO's voice echoed across the pavement, Ava Harper finally felt the weight that had been crushing her chest begin to lift. The crowd stepped closer, not out of curiosity anymore, but out of solidarity. Witnesses offered their videos, their statements, their support. The truth was no longer something Ava had to fight for alone. It was visible, undeniable, and recorded from every angle. Security arrived within minutes to escort Madison Pierce away from the entrance. The same hostess who had once stood like a gatekeeper of privilege now walked out trembling, her authority dissolved under the weight of her own actions. Derek Carter followed, ashamed and silent, realizing too late that neutrality in the face of injustice is nothing more than another form of harm. Officer Martinez took Ava's statement carefully, respectfully, determined to ensure every detail was documented truthfully. Officer Jennings remained off to the side, his confidence shattered, his misconduct exposed, his career forever changed by the same cameras he once ignored. The crowd watched as the system he had relied on to protect him finally held him accountable. Ava didn't celebrate, she didn't lash out. She simply held her daughter close, grateful that the world had refused to look away, grateful that for once the truth had been louder than the lies. In the days that followed, the videos went viral. Millions witnessed what happened to Ava, millions saw how quickly a peaceful moment could turn into a threat simply because of the color of a mother's skin. Lawsuits were filed, investigations opened, policies began to shift. And for many watching, Ava's story became a mirror reflecting a painful reality. This wasn't an isolated incident, it was a pattern. But Ava's courage broke that pattern in one powerful moment. Her refusal to stay silent forced a conversation the world could no longer ignore. And now the question remains, when you witness injustice, will you walk away? Or will you be the voice that turns a moment of fear into a moment of change? If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And make sure you subscribe to Black Community Struggles for more powerful stories about justice, truth, and the fight to be seen. And don't forget to hit that like button. Your support helps these stories reach the people who need them most.